Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Gospel Eschatology. My name is Mario Watson-Beasley. I'm a member of the Church of Christ in Ludington, located at 3816 West Farm Road, Ludington, Michigan. Here on Gospel Eschatology, we've been involved in a study titled In the Last Days. Now, we most recently had took a look at Deuteronomy chapter 32, verse 16 through 21. And it was in reference to Israel, Old Covenant Israel, making God jealousy, provoking them to anger, and God in return provoking them to jealousy and anger towards the Gentiles when He allowed for them to be His people and become a part of His body. It was part of the events that was to occur in the last days of Old Covenant Israel. We've already discovered that the last days mentioned in the Bible are in reference to Old Covenant Israel, and it was supposed to be their last days. It would be their end. It was the time of the end of their covenant with God. Their being um, the sanctified people, or those who was called out as God's people. Um, we what we read in Deuteronomy chapter 32 is the Song of Moses. Now, what we're going to talk about today is very heavy stuff, a lot of material, and I hope you guys got your Bible so that you can follow along, because the information that I'm providing today is very key and very critical and can help you in understanding the last days and the esca letter eschatological, excuse me, eschatological. I don't know why I struggle with that word so much. Eschatological, eschatological. Oh, maybe I got it now, but I always do that before I do my videos, and I still struggle with it, and I end up saying events of eschatology or something. But eschatological. Anywho, let's continue. So, I mean, we mess up. We human. It happens. I'm not gonna start the video over. We're gonna continue. So, anywho, we're going to take a look at Deuteronomy chapter 32, verse 22 and following. And like I said, it's going to be some good material here. So, I hope you guys are following along in your Bible. But it's a lot, so I'm going to jump right into it. Deuteronomy chapter 32, verse 22. For a fire is kindled in my anger, and shall burn unto the lowest hell, and shall consume the earth with her increase, and set on fire the foundations of the mountains. I will heap mischiefs upon them. I will spin mine arrows upon them. They shall be burnt with hunger, and devoured with burning heat, and with bitter destruction. I will also send the teeth of beasts upon them, with the poison of serpents of the dust. Now, let's take a look at those few verses real quick. So here it is, 22. God is saying that it's a fire that's kindled in His anger. On his anger for what? We go up one verse, verse 21. They have moved me to jealousy with that which is not God. They have provoked me to anger with their vanities, and I will move them to jealousy with those who are not a people. I will provoke them to anger with the foolish nation. So here it is. As I spoke when the video first began, they move God to jealousy. They move God to anger by their abominations and sins, and their vanities, and breaking God's commandment. Just their rebellion in a whole. It caused God to be angry. And due to Him being angry, a fire was kindled. And it says that this fire was to burn unto the lowest hell. And this fire, same fire, was to consume the earth. Consume the earth, devour the earth, destroy the earth with their increase, and set on fire the foundations of the mountains. So here it is, because of Israel's rebellion, God promises to burn the earth. Now, we have the futurist view, where God promises to burn the earth in the future, quote unquote, but it's not because of Israel's sins. According to the futurists, Israel was done with or done away with at the cross. God did away with them at the cross. They no longer had any meaning or significance. But here it is, God promises to burn the earth because of them making him angry. But then when we read verse 23 and 24, he said he would heap mischiefs upon them. So he's going to cause for harm to come upon them. I will spend my arrows upon them. They, verse 24, shall be burnt with hunger and devoured with burning heat and with bitter destruction. I also will send the teeth of beasts upon them with the poison of serpents of the dust. Hold on. But God just said that he was going to consume the earth with this fire that he had kindled in his anger due to Israel's rebellion. So if the foundations of the mountains are going to be on fire and the earth is going to be being consumed by this fire, how is it possible that the children of Israel, which is who they are, in verse 24, they, because if you keep it in context, Moses began addressing the old covenant Israel by heavens and earth, and he never changed subjects or changed the people that he was addressing. So he's still addressing old covenant Israel, who he called heavens and earth. So they, them, they both refer to old covenant Israel, or once again, who Moses addressed them as heavens and earth. But he said that they shall be burned with hunger. That just means they should be starved. That means they should be deprived of food. It says, and devoured with burning heat. So the earth is going to be consumed, and they, O covenant Israel, will be devoured with burning heat and with bitter destruction. Now, I'm just trying to understand how will God starve them when, well, I wouldn't say how will God starve them, but, you know, what's the purpose of starving them if God meant he was going to consume or burn the literal physical, geophysical world here or earth here? He cannot be talking about the physical earth being consumed or set on fire, or the physical foundation of the mountains being set on fire, because at the end of the day, they have more to worry about with this fire than to worry about being hungry. And he says, devour them with burning heat. So he's going to destroy them. He's going to consume them. He's going to get rid of them with burning heat. But let's keep reading. In the very next verse, verse 25, it says, the sword without and terror within shall destroy both the young man and the virgin, the suckling, also with the man of gray hairs. I said I would scatter them into corners. I would make the remembrance of them to cease from among men. Wait, hold on. So you telling me that God intends on it still to be life going on after he consumes the earth, after he devours they or old covenant Israel with burning heat and with bitter destruction? He says, even after all of this, there still is going to be a way where people will fall by the edge of the sword. He says the sword, verse 25, the sword without and terror within shall destroy both the young man and the virgin, the suckling, also with the man of gray hairs, even the older man. Then he says he's going to scatter them into the corners, or scatter them into the world, or scatter them into the nations. Corners, just the corners of the earth. This right here is very, very powerful, guys. God cannot be talking about burning or consuming with fire the physical earth, because he continues to have life on this same earth after it's consumed with fire, or after O Covenant Israel is devoured by burning heat, after he starves them, or they are burnt with hunger. They it still will have individuals that will fall to the edge of the sword, and it still will have individuals that scatter across the world. There's no way around this. It's impossible for him to be talking about the physical earth. So, what is God talking about here? Well, he says they, he says them, he says he's going to burn or devour them with burning heat. He says he's going to consume the earth with her increase. Well, Moses addressed Old Covenant Israel as heavens and earth. So here it is when he's talking about burning the earth, he uses the word they, which is antecedent, because if you go to the subject is the heavens and earth. The subject is Old Covenant Israel. So we have here that in the last days, God will consume the earth with a fire that's kindled in his anger due to Israel's rebellion. Now, I want to take a look at something because we got a lot more, but I want to take a look at something real quick. At verse 25, it says, "The sword without and terror within shall destroy both the young man and the virgin, the suckling." That's just a baby suckling, still breastfeeding. Also with the man of gray hairs, the older man. This sounds very, very familiar. This is the same language, almost verbatim, a perfect parallel to Luke chapter 21. Also, Matthew. This is a direct parallel almost to some events that Jesus posited with the destruction of Jerusalem. Let's take a look at that at Luke chapter 21. Luke chapter 21, guys. We're going to start at about the 20th verse. And Luke 21:20 reads as, "And when ye shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, then know that the desolation thereof is nigh." What desolation? The abomination and desolation that Daniel spoke about in Daniel chapter 11. Also, he spoke about it in Daniel 12 and Daniel 9. But here it is. He says, "When you shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, then know that the desolation thereof is nigh. Then let them which are in Judea flee to the mountains, and let them which are in the midst of it depart out, and let not them that are in the countries enter thereunto. For these be the days of vengeance, that all things which are written may be fulfilled." Now, this is a little off topic, but isn't Deuteronomy chapter 32 written? Yes, of course it is. So, when Jerusalem is compassed with armies, Jesus is saying that these are days of vengeance and that all things written may be fulfilled. So, Deuteronomy chapter 32 is to also be fulfilled when Jerusalem is compassed with armies. But let's keep reading so that I can draw out the point here. Verse 23, "But woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days, for there shall be great distress in the land, and wrath upon this people. And they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and shall be led away captive unto all nations. And Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles until the time of the Gentiles be fulfilled." Whoa. Let's read this one more time, guys. This is very powerful. Here it is, verse 23 and 24. And I'm going to read it pretty quick because I want to jump back to Deuteronomy chapter 32. Then I want to fast forward to another chapter, and that's in Matthew, which is parallel to the Luke 21 here. And is Matthew 24. It's parallel to Luke 21. Here it is. It says, verse 23, but woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days, for there shall be great distress in the land, and wrath upon its people. And they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and shall be led away captives into all nations. And Jerusalem shall be trodden down of Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled. Now, let's go back and read what Deuteronomy chapter 32, verse 25 and 26 says. The sword, here goes the sword, without and terror within shall destroy both the young man and the virgin, the suckling, also with the man of gray hairs. We just read where he talked about the suckling and the young man. And then verse 26 says, I said, and also from verse 25, we read where they will fall by the edge of the sword. Then verse 26 said, I said I would scatter them into corners. I would make the remembrance of them to cease from among men. So here it is, when God had predicted this to happen in Deuteronomy, we have Jesus positing this happening, them being led away captive into all nations or scattered into the corners, and the them falling by the edge of the sword, and using the words of woe unto them that with our child and give suck, things of this sort. We have Jesus positing this when Jerusalem will be encompassed by our armies, and we all know that Jerusalem was encompassed by our armies in um, 67, 66 AD, with the consummation being in AD 70 with the destruction of the city and the fall of the temple. But this is the way that Luke records it. But I want to look at the way Matthew records it in Matthew chapter 24. Matthew chapter 24. And then we're going to read the 15th verse. It says, when you therefore shall see the abomination of desolation, spoken of by Daniel the prophet, stand in the holy place. Whoso readeth, let him understand. Then let them which be in Judea flee into the mountains. Let them which is on the housetop not come down to take anything of this house. Neither let them which is in the field return back to take his clothes. And woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days. But pray ye that your flight be not in the winter, neither in the Sabbath. Pay attention here, guys. Here it is. We're going to posit Deuteronomy 32, verses 22 to 26, with an event that Jesus predicted to happen, and many other prophets in the Bible. Well, I don't like the way I said that. And the prophets in the Bible. Because Jesus is more than a prophet, he was our Savior, the Son of God. But, continue on. I'm going to read verse 20 again. But pray ye that your flight be not in the winter, neither on the Sabbath. Verse 21. For then when they see the abomination of desolation, when they flee to the mountains from Judea, when the they should hope that they fight not in the winter, they should hope that they're not pregnant, they should hope that they should not come down, then they should not return home. That's when. That's then. That's the then. That's when the then is. For then, for connects. It's a connected particle, so it connects us with the previous subject, previous conversation. For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, nor ever shall be. Oh man, do you see that, guys? Do you see that? Here it is. Jesus posits Deuteronomy chapter 32, verses 22 through 26 at the fall of Jerusalem, the destruction of the temple. He posited with the Great Tribulation and the abomination of desolation. Matthew 24 verses 4 to 34. Almost everyone, about 90, at least 90% of Bible students agree that it refers that Jesus was referring to the destruction of Jerusalem. Well, here it is in Deuteronomy, the Song of Moses, chapter 32, which speaks about the last days of Israel. We have God predicting an event to occur, which correlates and harmonizes perfect with the Great Tribulation taking place in the last days of Israel. Well, you have Jesus predicting that these things, according to verse 34, was to happen in their generation within those last days of Israel. As we already learned in previous videos, that Jesus appeared in the last days. He made a sacrifice in the last days. So here it is in the last days. Jesus is saying that Deuteronomy chapter 32 was being fulfilled. Once again, we have passages, sections in Deuteronomy chapter 32, the Song of Moses, that's being posited in the first century, which once again confirm that the last days, which were the last days of Israel, have passed. And those last days passed in the first century. And now we have not just the first century, but we have even the date, because Jesus said that those things would happen in that generation. And they did happen in that generation. And like I say, it happened when the city was destroyed and the temple was destroyed, which was in AD 70. Which means the last days ended in AD 70, folks. There's no way around it. Now, I see we're running out of time, so I'm going to leave on that note there, but we're going to pick back up on Deuteronomy chapter 32, verses 22 through 26, because it's so much more there. It's so much more powerful information here, and I want us to look at it and I want us to examine it well. So that's why I want to do that in the next video, so that we can take the appropriate time to accurately examine it and apply it in the way to where it's uh, inevitable and irrefutable when it comes to the eschatology of the Bible. It is clean cut and there's no way around the information that I'm going to provide. So, just like all the rest of the information that I'm providing. So, what we have here, we have Israel being rebellious, of course, and that's what the Song of Moses is about. But it says that God was going to have a fire kindled through the anger from them, provoking him to anger and jealousy from their abominations, sins, and vanities, and how through this anger, the fire that's kindled, he's going to burn the earth, he's going to consume the earth, he was going to starve them, that they were going to fall by the edge of the sword, he was going to scatter them across the nations, things of that sort. Now, besides the burning of the earth, everything else from verses about 24 and following, or might want to even say 23 and following, we discovered that they refer to the time of distress that was called the Great Tribulation, and how Jesus in Luke and in Matthew posited the event of Deuteronomy chapter 32, verse 26 in the first century, in not just the first century, but in the time period in which the Jerusalem would fall and the temple would be destroyed. So we have Jesus positing them in advance. But now in the next video, we're going to touch the consume the earth part, because here it is. God is saying in the last days, due to his anger against Israel, that he was going to burn the earth. Well, we have to look forward to the last days in the New Testament and see if we have a New Testament writer or Jesus positing earth being burned in the last days. And that's what we're going to take a look at in our next video. So I hope you guys tune in. I hope you check it out because it's going to be just like this one. It's going to be a nice amount of evidence that proves once again that the last days was the last days of Israel. They're not the last days currently. They're not no last days in no future. The last days of Israel, and they have gone and passed. I want to thank you all for tuning in. I appreciate the comments. You watched it. I hope you liked it. So hit the like button, share, and subscribe. Um, Folks, this information here is just wonderful, and it just continues to give us comfort that our God is an awesome God, and our God is an honest God, and whatever He said was to happen has happened, and that is period, point blank, simple. I thank you so much once again, and I pray that you all are taking care of yourself. May God bless you, and I'll see you later. Till next time. Bye. Have a good one.